Hey everyone. Gosh, it's always three times a charm with this. So today I wanted to discuss something that I've heard several times in this Chinese immersion journey of ours. And I constantly hear, often from white folks, but it's certainly not they certainly do not have the monopoly on this question. And the question is, can I just, oh, hey, my neighbor I think speaks Chinese. Can I just send my kids over there for like a play date and they'll learn Chinese that way? So, first of all, that's racist. I hate to break it to you. You're probably not meaning to be racist, but it is. I mean, one, you should probably make sure that they are actually Chinese. Two, it's not okay to just assume that you can send your kids over to someone else's house and assume that they will teach your kid Chinese for you. Um, that's a lot of entitlement. it's and probably, I mean, I'm assuming a lot of people are joking about it. I hope people are joking about it, but it's a lot of entitlement. Like, people pay people to, tutors and like classes to teach Chinese. Okay, there's products out there. Why should your neighbor teach your kid for free? Unless we're going to pay them, then that's different. But yeah, that's not cool, people. That's not okay. Just because they're Chinese, they don't need to, or if they're Chinese, it's not their job to teach your kid for free Chinese in their house. Okay, if you want to send them over a play date and like because you like them, that's different. But I cannot be. It's not cool, guys. Two, even if they are fluent in Chinese, even if the kids are fluent in Chinese, and the parents are fluent in Chinese, and they were willing to speak to your kid in Chinese, your kid's not going to understand them. I mean, and your kid probably won't enjoy it or like it. I personally don't enjoy not understanding anything that's going on. I mean, I speak Chinese. I'm fluent in Chinese, and I still had a really hard time in Taiwan because everything was in Chinese. I'm fluent. Okay, so your kid's probably not going to enjoy it. That's not how language works. Okay, and a lot of it's because people don't understand how language works, like how to learn a language. But sending your kid, when people say like, oh, you immerse someone in language, there's like a rhyme and a reason to it. That you don't just send someone over, for an hour a day to your neighbor's house and expect your kid to come back fluent. That's not an appropriate expectation. And then also, like, the whole point of a play date is to play and to have a good time and to enjoy someone's company, right? And I don't enjoy talking to people who don't understand me. I mean, the whole point of a play date is to communicate with another kid, to play and to have fun. And so, no kid who is polite and excuse me, and not a jerk, like most kids who are kind or not kind, but at least not jerks, and they don't want to make anyone feel bad for not understanding something. So if someone who they're playing with doesn't understand a language they're speaking, they will switch the language the other person understands. And that's English. Or I guess if you guys are in another country, some other language. So it's not, like, no kid who speaks Chinese is going to be speaking to your kid in Chinese if your kid doesn't understand Chinese. That's not a reasonable expectation. And then the parents are probably not going to do that either. They're just people. They're not necessarily qualified or teachers to teach your kid Chinese. And if they work, they're tired. They don't want to teach your kid Chinese. It's probably hard enough to teach their own kids Chinese. And if they're not, they're still tired. If they're not working, they're still tired because they're watching their stinking kids and they're tired and probably don't want to speak Chinese to your kid, especially since your kid doesn't understand what they're saying and they would have to translate it into English anyway. So yeah, it's not reasonable. not at all remotely reasonable. So it's understandable why a lot of people think that way, but it's not how language works. And then I think I had another reason. Oh, yes. Even if the parents are fluent and the kids are fluent, the parents probably still have a hard enough time getting their kids to speak Chinese, let alone to some kid who doesn't understand Chinese. So yeah, I mean, my kids are totally fluent in Chinese. They are mostly literate. I mean, they're becoming literate. And they still speak English to each other all the time. There's no way that they would speak to some kid who doesn't speak Chinese in Chinese. Because there's no point. There's no point. They would say, like, why? They don't understand Chinese. Why should I speak to them in Chinese? That we can't play. We can't do anything fun. We can't do anything. So yeah, that's another reason. And then lastly, if the kids are, like, let's say, recent immigrants and are predominantly Chinese and don't speak English well at all, the last thing the parents want is for the kids to be trying to teach your kid Chinese. In fact, I bet you they would want a play date with your kid because your kid could teach them English. So lots of reasons why that won't work out. And again, I don't think most people are trying to be mean or rude about it, but that's what it is. So no, you can't send your kid to some neighbor's house and have them magically learn Chinese that way. That's not the way language works. Now, if your kid is like a newborn or like a toddler or a baby and you're just sending them to someone who speaks Chinese predominantly and you're paying them, hopefully, then they'll probably pick up some Chinese, okay? Like, because that's how kids learn language. Or if you go to like a language class, like a Chinese language class to teach kids Chinese, then your kid will probably learn some. But if your kid is like even 4 or 5, and a lot of times kids are a lot older, like 9 or 10, there's no way your kid's going to learn Chinese from just your neighbor and being at your neighbor's house for like an hour for a play date. They might learn certain words, like if they want to teach your kid, but in general, your kid's not going to learn Chinese that way. So what are ways for your older children to learn Chinese? Well, one, take a class. Hey, Jane. So yeah, one, have your kid take a class. There's lots of classes out there that are teaching children Chinese. You should sign up for them. Okay. 2, there's lots of programs out there on YouTube even to teach your kids like a new Chinese word a day, or like just conversational Chinese, okay? Like, how are you? How's the weather? My name is, all those things. And then 3, there's actual language courses that you can sign up for kids online, and that would also work. And then when your kid can actually maybe hold a basic, like a small conversation, that there might be some chance that they could learn some Chinese from like a neighbor. But ultimately, your best bet is to have your kids learn in a class or a tutor, and you pay those people. All right. So if your neighbor is willing to be a tutor and you ask them and they want to do it, then by all means, send your kid over and then they'll probably learn Chinese. But if it's just kind of like a surreptitious sort of like, hey, I'll send my kid over, it's not going to happen. Okay. So, oh, yes, good point, Jane. Yes, they could go to a Chinese school where the levels go higher and higher. My worry with sending a kid who has no Chinese background to a Chinese school is a lot of time, unless if they have a separate like Chinese second language track, it'll be really difficult for them because they'll be in a class with babies. Or it just won't be fun. And then also a lot of Chinese schools also teach reading and writing, and I don't necessarily think that is always the best way to go for folks who just want to learn how to speak Chinese. So yeah, but there are a lot of programs, a lot of cartoons or classes online or otherwise, or tapes that would be able to teach your kids Chinese. And the majority of it is actually probably taught in English, because if they just heard some, hey Diane, if they just heard some like story in Chinese, they're going to tune it out. The studies have shown that if you do not understand a language, just hearing it in the background doesn't work. Okay, your brain tunes it out as gibberish. However, if you start already understanding it and then you listen to Chinese tapes or whatever language tapes, then your brain is actually processing, oh, these are words. And they've actually found that if you don't know a language, it's best to watch shows like TV shows or cartoons, because then you can see physically, like where the mouths will show you where one word ends and another word begins. Whereas if you do not have any exposure to another language, you just listen to it, again, you don't know where the words start or end. And again, your brain will tune it out as gibberish. So those are my quick tips. And thanks for watching, and have a great night, everyone. Bye.